Did you know that diamond players and above make up the top 5% of all team fight tactics players? And did you know that you can absolutely join us in that top 5%, but you just have to do things probably a little bit differently than what you're doing right now? The beginning of a set is the best time to accelerate your knowledge and learn how to play the set and learn all the changes, because you are going to be so far ahead of people that spend half the season just figuring things out. And by the time they do, the season's half gone, and it maybe limits their ability to actually climb up to the rank that they truly should and can get to. So most players won't do these things, but I'm going to give you 5 crucial pieces of information that if you implement, I guarantee you can climb way quicker this season in set 8. So here we go. So number 1, and this is going to seem painfully obvious, but most people actually do not do this, and that is to learn all of the units, traits, and classes that the game has. And I don't mean knowing that there's a trait called Star Guardian. Everyone's going to know that. Knowing what that trait actually entails and try to relate it back to a class or a trait that was in a previous season, because it's going to make it that much more familiar to you. For example, Aegis is very similar to Mystic from set 7.5. Defender is very similar to Bodyguard from set 6 and 6.5. And Civilian is very similar to the Scholar trait. However, with one key difference is in order to have the mana cost activated, that unit has to be alive in the combat. So that is already a huge change. You can't just stack a bunch of Scholar units that you don't build around or position around, because if they all get out immediately, then you lose that entire bonus and they're a wasted slot on your field. By understanding roughly what the trait does, what they're good at, and what they're weak at, so you know how to counter it, it is going to give you that advantage when you start seeing them in the lobbies versus when, there's a 4-stacked Rage Wing and they are just absolutely destroying you and you're panicking. You're going to avoid that by knowing, okay, well, this is how I play around that comp, this is how I position, and this is how I actually, win those rounds, or at least limit the HP that I lose until I hit my late game stride. I am going to link the dev blog in the description because they do go over each champion, what their cost is, their classes, their origins, and it's really helpful, and I recommend watching that. It doesn't necessarily say if each unit is specifically a tank, utility unit, or carry unit, and of course, things have changed since the PB balance changes, but that will give you a very good base knowledge. Let's move on to number 2, and that is knowing all the up-to-date mechanics of the game, and I will tell you all the major ones right now. For example, did you know that they changed the early damage calculations starting in stage 3 and last all the way to stage 6 with an increased damage per round that you lose? So if you are planning on lose streaking in the early stages of the game, you better make sure that you're not losing each round by too many units, because you're going to be taking way too much damage and losing way too much HP that by the time you hit your level 7, level 8 build, it might be too late. So by being aware of that, you can plan a little bit better, because you used to be able to just lose streak and put 3 1-cost 1-star units on the board and it wouldn't really matter, but now you really have to think about how badly you are going to lose each round. Also, another change that we already know, that there is no more 2-space units this set, and there's no 6, 7, and 8 cost units, so that will already change the whole econ and tempo of the game as well, because people are going to start getting more powerful units a little bit earlier. I did list 20 major changes to this set in 2 other videos, so we'll also link those in the description. That will give you an overview of what is changing in this set and what are the major things to look out for. So far, by the last week of the PBE, other than this damage change, nothing else has really changed. They did make a small change to crit, that as soon as you hit 100, you automatically convert it into crit damage, which is very good because it was feeling really bad to waste some crit items, but again, nothing other than that has changed since I made those videos, so that's a really good place to start as well. Number 3, this one is very important. I mean, these are all important, but this one will impact your climb patch to patch, so it's a really good habit to get into right now by doing this. And that is to really know the meta comps as soon as possible at the beginning of the patch. The first couple days of a patch, it's kind of tricky because things are still being worked out. The changes are coming. They're going to be played on a wide scale, and then people are going to figure out what works and what doesn't. So you can usually get by with comps that were strong in the last patch, but if you're not winning with the comps that you were winning with in the last patch, immediately stop playing them and reassess. I can tell you right now, reroll comps are going to be contested and strong in the at least first few patches of this set because of the hero augments coming in, where it's sometimes your first or second choice. It makes people want to go for the reroll comps because it is usually a safe bet to get top 4. So know your reroll comps immediately. I'm going to post guides all through the season with a bunch of different reroll and non-reroll comps for you to learn. Okay, this next one I know you're going to be resistant to, because if you're anything like me, there is nothing like the feeling of climbing the ranked ladder. Games to me just don't feel like they even matter or count unless I'm playing ranked, which is very fair because it feels like there is an extra stake in the game. But my advice to you is play some normals before you jump into the ranked ladder. You don't have to play 50 normals, but what I recommend is playing at least 10 normal games so that you can see what the changes all look like in game, and you're not struggling to figure them out while you're, getting 7th or 8th place in a ranked game, which is going to slow your climb immediately, but also it will let you get comfortable with your comps. And it is important to have a couple default comps. I recommend at least one AD and at least one AP comp, and then a reroll comp in case you hit a really good reroll augment early, or a hero augment that is for 1 or 2 cost champion that fits well with the supers reroll comp style. 2 recommendations I have for you are a admin Camille Renegade type of AD build and a Soraka AP admin build. Only because both of them I've been doing very well with the entire PBE, even after they've been nerfed a few times. And also the comps have similar champions in them, so you don't have to learn as much. They kind of do play similar early unless you're going with Camille full on reroll, but they will play similar enough and similar enough champions that you can play 5 or 6 games and you will have a really good base understanding of which units to go for, when to level up, and what items to build on Soraka, Camille, and your frontline tank. Again, you need to be adaptable depending on what is good in the meta, because who knows, a huge comp could emerge when the season starts that absolutely destroys admin. So don't rely on just one comp, but I would say at the very minimum, you have to have a couple default comps that you can play, that do very well. But if you really want to ensure that you climb as quick as possible, I would probably learn 4 different comps and play 15 to 20 normals, and I'm going to tell you why right now. This is the first time I've actually spent any significant time playing the PBE. I've probably played 30 to 40 games, and I feel very confident, way more confident than I ever have going into a season, because I have played so many different comps that depending on what champs I roll early, what items I get in my first PvE rounds, I'm pretty confident I can make a build that's going to be in the top 4. And the only times I really haven't made top 4 is when I forced a comp that I already knew I shouldn't, because I knew I wasn't getting the units, but I really just wanted to play it just to try it out. Or unfortunately, my computer crashed a few times. Those are literally the only times that I did not make top 4. Again, it's PBE, so I could be playing against players that are, iron to bronze. So it's not like a true indication of that, I was playing against all Diamond Master players and then I was dominating. But I do feel like I have such a comfort level in this set already that I know in my first couple games, when I play against people that have not bothered to play any normals, I definitely will get in the top 3 because I'm just that much more prepared. All right, here is my last tip to help you climb in this season specifically. And this is going to be my hot take of the video, but I just know that this is going to be true, and I'm telling you right now, you have to pay attention to this. Make sure you learn the mech or Star Guardian traits and builds and know how to play them. Or if you absolutely hate either of those or both of them, make sure you learn what comps absolutely smash them. And here's why. From a business standpoint, I know that Riot is not going to bring back two beloved comps both at the same time and have them be the average meh kind of traits that never really get played throughout the entire season. And we know that they are going to be constantly balancing these two comps, buffing them so that they're insanely powerful some patches, and then nerfing them to appease the masses that are absolutely upset about them being so OP. I can all but guarantee you that this will happen multiple times through the season, and seeing the PBE changes all throughout the last couple weeks confirms that, because they had to nerf Mech Jax a bunch of times because it was so strong and you literally could not kill the mech unit unless you had the ultimate perfect high rolling comp. We also saw a very weak recon Kai'Sa that they buffed a few times and then they overdid it, so they nerfed her a little bit in this last few days. And then Talia, who I already thought was in a good spot, they've buffed to ensure that it is a premier 4-cost carry. So those are 5 things that probably seem really basic, but from talking with other people that I know play TFT, I know that most people will not do this. And if you set yourself up to just have more knowledge, more practice than other players, it's going to help you climb really quickly and really early in the season. As well, stay tuned on this channel because I'm going to be posting a bunch of compositions, tips, guides, things to really help you climb on a more patch to patch basis. And I really want to see you get to that diamond rank because you absolutely can do it. And it won't take you as many games as you think.